Strawberry cobbler with pie crust is easy and delicious. Although I already have a video for strawberry pie and strawberry cobbler here on my channel, I want to do something different. The cobbler that I made last year, it's a dump cake style cobbler, so it has a light and fluffy crust, which is fine, but I really like pie crust. So inspired by blackberry cobbler, I redid it recently. That video will probably go up after this one. I added dumplings to it, and now I want to see how that works out with strawberry cobbler. For those of you who aren't familiar with southern style cobblers, a lot of them call for adding dumplings or adding small pieces of pie crust to the fruit filling. I know it sounds odd. You would think it would turn out, I don't know, rubbery or just an odd texture. It actually doesn't. It's very delicious, and it's nice to have that contrast between the crispy pie crust on top of the cobbler and the dumplings inside. For the filling for my strawberry cobbler, as always, I am going to use frozen berries. Consistent quality, they're my go-to. If you have fresh, they're in season, you could definitely use those, but honestly, I would freeze them first and then thaw them, just because frozen fruit releases more juice. So if you use fresh, you might have to adjust the amount of cornstarch. I am using 24 ounces or 680 grams of strawberries. Where I shop, strawberries are frozen in 16-ounce bags, so I'm using 1.5 16-ounce bags. What I did to thaw them is I put them into this bowl. I put them in the microwave on defrost for 10 minutes. They were still kind of frozen then. And then I microwaved them on high for 3.5 minutes and then 1.5 for a total of 5. They are not cooked fully, but they are soft. What I did is I went through and all of the large berries, I took my knife and cut them into smaller pieces. I don't want some berries that are huge. It's gonna throw off the texture. Of course, I have to add some sugar. I'm adding 1 cup or 215 grams. I'm adding 4 tablespoons of cornstarch or 40 grams, along with 1/8 teaspoon of salt, and I'm also adding 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. And my oven is almost at 350. My oven is preheating to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I know the lemon juice might seem a bit odd, but trust me, lemon and berries were made for each other. What I am going to do now is I am going to put my buttered 8x8 casserole dish off to the side, and I'm going to mix together the filling. Like I said, 1 cup of sugar, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, 1/8 teaspoon of salt, along with 4 tablespoons of cornstarch. I'm going to mix this together, and then I will bring you back. Now that my strawberry filling is mixed, it's time to go on to the pie crust dumplings. Here I have 1 9-inch pie crust. Of course it's homemade, but store-bought would make this recipe even easier. I just went through and I cut strips. They're between 1 inch and 1.5 inches thick. They aren't all equally the same size, but that's actually kind of a good thing because I want this to be rustic. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through and cut the strips into smaller pieces. How many? Probably 4 or 5 pieces. I'm just going to pick them up and add them to the strawberry filling. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add maybe a third or so of the pie crust to the strawberry filling, and then I'm going to mix everything together just like this. And then I'm going to continue adding the pie dough. What I'm going to do is once all of the dumplings are in the strawberry filling, I am going to pour the filling with the dumplings into my buttered 8x8 casserole dish. Then I'm going to put on a lattice top, and then it will be ready for this to go into the oven. If you want to, I guess you could put strips of the dough into the dish and then pour over the filling and do a couple layers of that. But I think that by doing this, everything will be distributed more evenly. I just finished mixing the pie crust dumplings into the strawberry filling. As I did continue to break up the larger strawberries and even cut up some of the dumplings into smaller pieces. My goal is to have the dough in bits here and there, along with bits of fruit. Does it have to be perfect? No. But something like this. It looks like the fruit and the dumplings are about evenly distributed. Now I'm going to just pour the filling with the dumplings into my buttered 8x8 casserole dish. And now I'm going to try to make sure that everything is distributed evenly. As you can see, my pie crust, the lattice top, is ready and waiting for me off to the side. The strawberries and the pie crust dumplings are evenly distributed, so now I'm going to add the lattice top. Here I have my second 9-inch pie crust, and just like with the one on the bottom that I cut into dumplings, I cut it into strips. These strips I'm simply going to put across the top of the cobbler. The amount of space that I leave between each strip is about the width of a strip. As you can see, nice and easy. It does not have to be perfect. This is going to be eaten in no time. I'm sure it's going to be delicious. And here on the edge, I'm going to put in half of a strip. I did not add a lot of extra things to the filling. I think you could add a bit of cinnamon or nutmeg if you wanted to, but honestly, I based this filling recipe off of the filling for my strawberry pie. I thought it was absolutely spectacular just how it was, so I am just gonna keep it simple. Now I'm gonna lay the second layer over the top, like this. Once again, does not have to be perfect. I know when you make a lettuce top, some people like to braid them. They like to lift up some of the strips and weave them up and under. You could try to do that if you want, but honestly, I think the filling is so juicy that it would be extremely difficult to do that. So I think you're better off just laying the strips on top of each other. Like I said, this is meant to be good, not good and easy, not something that is difficult to do. Now, one last finishing touch. Most of my pies and cobblers, I like to sprinkle them with some extra sugar. So here I have 2 tablespoons of white sugar. I'm going to sprinkle that over the top. I'm going to try and hit the crust, not the strawberry filling. but I know I'm gonna hit some of the filling. That's okay. Like I said earlier, my oven is preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and this is going to bake for, I'm guessing, 50 minutes, 50, but I will let you know. When you do bake it, I would recommend putting it on top of a cookie sheet, or what I'm going to do, a pizza pan, because if this boils over onto the floor of your oven, it's going to be a pain to clean. A lot of quilombo, as the Argentines would say, a lot of hassle. So, something like this, a pizza pan or a cookie sheet, put this under your cobbler, and if it does boil over, it's going to save you a lot of headache. I just pulled my strawberry cobbler out of the oven. It was in at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 50 minutes. 50. Uncovered. The first thing that I noticed about the cobbler was the color. It was a very bright, vibrant red. I remembered that the strawberry pie was very bright red as well, but honestly, I think that this cobbler was even brighter. The color alone was so beautiful, so eye-catching, so attention-getting, I couldn't wait to see how it tasted. This strawberry cobbler with pie crust and dumplings was absolutely fantastic. As a whole, it definitely turned out exactly as I had envisioned. A lattice top of pie crust with pie crust dumplings inside of a juicy fruit filling. I honestly thought that the strawberry filling was just right. It was juicier than a pie, but still not runny. After I cut the first slice in this video clip, you can see what I'm talking about. I know that the definition of a pie and a cobbler and what the differences can be a bit vague and is debatable, but in my opinion, one of the defining characteristics of a cobbler versus a pie is that a cobbler is juicier. Now that you have a clear view, you can see that the juices are oozing a little bit more than they did from the strawberry pie, but it's definitely not soupy inside. If you want it to be runnier and juicier, add less cornstarch. If you want it to be thicker, more like a pie, add more. I also really liked the combination of textures. The crispy pie crust on top of the cobbler and the softer pie crust dumplings inside of the fruit filling. Like I said earlier in the video, pie crust dumplings are very characteristic of Southern style cobblers, but if you're kind of unsure about them, I would just do a double crust cobbler, kind of like a pie. A solid crust on the bottom, the fruit filling, and then the lattice top on top, or even a full crust if you want. If you really like dough, I would just choose between a bottom crust or pie crust dumplings inside, not both, because I've had a cobbler like that before, and a top crust, a bottom crust, and dumplings inside is just too much. Although I really like the flavor, that is the one area in which I would like to tweak this recipe in the future. Don't get me wrong, this strawberry cobbler was absolutely delicious, and 98, maybe 99% of people would have said that it was perfect. However, looking back, I think I should have added some lemon zest. Probably 1 teaspoon, maybe even up to 1.5 teaspoons. Although I could definitely taste the lemon, I feel like a little bit more of citrus in the background would have helped to accentuate the strawberry flavor even more. I've also heard of people adding cinnamon to strawberry pies and cobblers. I've never done it, but I think you could give it a try. I would add somewhere between 1/8 of a teaspoon and 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Any more than that, and I think it would start to overpower the strawberry flavor. Although I think that adding lemon zest would do more for this cobbler than adding more lemon juice would, I could still see adding maybe an extra 1/2 tablespoon of lemon juice if you really like lemon. But honestly, I'm just being overly critical. This Southern style strawberry cobbler with pie crust and dumplings was exceptional. Because of the beautiful, deep, bright red color, this cobbler would be perfect for the 4th of July or any time. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time.